Welcome back, everybody. Today we have our guest, A&R slash creative director, Kayla Bryant. Kayla, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kayla Bryant. You can call me KB. And yeah, like he said, I'm the A&R and Creative Director, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Tell everybody a little bit about your musical background. How'd you get into what you're doing right now?
So I got into what I'm doing. It's kind of like a weird story in a way. So I'm from the DMV area. That's DC, Maryland, Virginia. So go-go music has always been like around me, and music has been surrounding me. My dad is a DJ, so I always like grew up around music. Then I joined the military when I was 20, and I didn't like it, hated it actually. So I was on the phone with my mom one day, and she was just asking me like, "What is it that you like to do?" And then I started asking myself like, "What is it that I like to do?" And everything kind of just drew back to music. So from that point on, I just started researching things that you can do in the music industry because I had no idea.
Yeah.
I thought that you can just either be the artist or the manager. And I'm like, I don't really have interested in being a manager, and I can't sing or rap. I can rap a little bit sometimes, but I can't do any of those things. And then I came across what an A&R was, and I was like, wow, this sounds like me. Like what they do sounds like me. Um, yeah.
Okay. What's the day in the life of an A&R? So thus far.
Thus far, a day in the life as an A&R is I reach out to a lot of different producers for VPACs, or I'll sit in with producers in the studio, and then we'll create stuff depending on like if it's for an artist or if they create a beat and I'm like, okay, I hear this artist on it that I'm working with, like I'll send it to them, just give them feedback and try to like help them structure the song, and what their vision is like for themselves. After that, so going through a lot of emails looking for new talent, reaching out to people and reaching out to like different labels and stuff and trying to get them opportunities.
Yeah. So when you're going through these emails and you're listening to these artists, what are you really looking for? What's that it factor for you?
Good music. I know that sounds like very typical, but it has to sound good and sound like something that I haven't heard before. Like you're not trying to sound like anybody else. You sound like yourself. And then I look for like when artists reach out to me, or if I'm looking for artists, I reach out. I mean, I like look for, how do I word this? Like if I reach out to you, it's either because I like your music and I hear beyond what you're currently doing, and I see like the potential in it, and I'll reach out to you to see if our vision aligns. So
Oh.
I don't know if that answered your question,
No,
but
yeah, yeah, definitely. So like when you see an artist that, it's not quite there, but you can see the potential, how do you know that you're going to be able to take the artist to the next level? You know what I mean? I guess these are really like subjective, but just your perspective, really.
from my perspective, if I hear something that I really like and I reach out to an artist, I just love to just get to know them and talk to them and see what their influences are and who they aspire to be and what their goals are as an artist. Because I might see like you can be Michael Jackson, and a goal for them is to just like do local concerts at like bars and festivals and stuff. And it's like, okay, our visions don't align. Or I hear you going in this direction with your sound and you don't hear that for yourself. I also think that's really important for artists to know like what it is that they want, because when people approach them, like at labels approach them, like A&Rs, you guys might have two different visions, and it's important to be on one page. So if you do get signed, if that's your goal, that you don't feel like they're trying to make you out to be something that you're not,
Yeah.
or like box you into something.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So let's go back. What does it take to get into your position? What was the steps that you took to become a freelance A&R?
The steps that I took, okay, so I told you the story about me being in the military and hated it.
Yeah.
So once I found out what an A&R was, I decided like right then and there, like, okay, I'm going to get out. I still had about 2 years left in the military. But from there, I just started working at Live Nation as a fan ambassador. So I would work in the military like 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., go work at Live Nation, like 5 p.m. to 1 a.m., do it. every single day, just because I knew I had to get out of there and I had to have like something on my resume that was music related.
Yeah.
Also in the military, they have like, you have like 30 days a year for like paid vacation.
Yep.
I would use all of my time to go to festivals, to network, intern, volunteer, like South by Southwest. Like I would just be networking with a whole bunch of people. And then I finally got out and I did an internship at a label and then got my foot in there. And then I worked at another label as a A&R assistant. And there I learned a lot of stuff about how the game works and the industry and what A&R does and the admin side of things. And then I'm like, okay, I can do this for real, for real. So now I freelance A&R.
Yeah, and so when you were doing that, when you were interning, like you were doing this pretty much free. So you're like, was it pretty much free when you were doing that? Wow.
Yes.
So like you also had to like find a job and
Yep.
support yourself while you were doing that. So
Well, luckily I was still in the military, so I just
yeah,
like I would do it like on weekends or just like finesse my way into like getting leave just to go to this festival just to talk to people.
yeah. What branch were you in?
Air Force.
Oh, you were in the chair for. I'm in.
This Air Force.
I'm currently active duty Coast Guard right now too. So I definitely.
Oh wow, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm pretty much where you were. I'm active duty military. You know, I'm just trying to find my creative path. So I'm kind of doing that, as well. So
Well, this is dope that you have your own podcast. That's amazing.
yeah, it was a long time coming for sure. So you said that you were a freelance A&R. So you don't work for a label or anything like that. So how does that work?
I just work with independent artists that I'm passionate about and just develop them. And then if they choose to get signed, well, so far since I've been freelancing A&R, nobody that I've worked with has gotten signed yet. But if they choose to get signed, I would just be a part of their team like that. But it works the same as if you were at a label, but you're just it's less of a budget in a way, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of passion, like working with these artists. We're
Okay.
just all figuring it out.
Yeah. So what's your biggest struggle with being an A&R so far?
So far, I would say my biggest struggle being an A&R is sometimes I suffer from like imposter syndrome just because my story is a little bit different, just like you are in the military. From everybody else, like a lot of people went to college to do this or, like had a family member that was in the business like previously, but I'm just kind of just like jumping in and figuring out like on my own. Like, so I would just say like as a young Black girl, like feeling like my voice doesn't matter at times when it really does. So it's
Yeah.
something I'm getting over, but
Yeah,
that's like
definitely.
one thing I struggle with.
Definitely. And then you said you were like doing freelance creative director. So what is that like for you? To
Oh my gosh, it is so
balance
fun.
both of these things at the same time. How are you doing?
I love it. Well, actually, so I creative direct a lot for the artists that I work with. So it's really fun because I already was there like from the beginning, like seeing what their vision is when we were creating the music. So it's like, okay, I understand and I understand them. So I can just creative direct the rollout as well. And it's so much fun. I love it. It's so easy to me.
Yeah.
Like just getting out all these ideas and we just go back and forth like, okay, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? Okay, well, like that one part that you said when we were in the studio, like I just have more things to reference and just can base things like off their personality because yeah, when you were there when they were making the record, it's so much easier.
Yeah. See, and there's something that I can tell that we both kind of have in common. Like the military was good because it gave you structure. It gave, it made you more, you held yourself accountable. But there was one thing that, you kind of lacking when you're in the military, and that's the creative thinking, just doing something to express yourself. Because once you join the military, you kind of throw that away for the sake of the
Hmm.
needs of the service and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, you
I
can't really express your inner child.
exactly, and I'm at 5 years now, and I'm like, it was a good stepping stone. I learned how to be a leader. I learned how to hold myself accountable, how to get things done, be on time, and stuff like that. And now,
Mhm.
just like you're doing, I'm trying to channel that energy and use my creative side because I got to express in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
So, from your perspective, how does an artist make it into the music industry at any level?
An artist makes it into the music industry from my perspective just really by having good music again, and being consistent. Because if your music is good, people are going to find you, and also in being consistent in creating a brand for yourself. And I don't mean like having a million followers or anything like that. Like you have to have 10K followers, like for people to come look at you. But I mean it in a sense where, okay, me as an A&R, if I like your music and I go to your page, I want to understand who you are and not like a image that I made up like in my mind. So the music industry job to me is kind of like it's kind of like a stylist. So if you go to a stylist and you're like, okay, I'm going to this event, I need something to wear or whatever, and they're like, okay, they can pull something that's not your style, and it's just like they can make you into who they think that you should be, or what they should do is get your style and say, okay, this complements you better and work with you instead of just doing everything themselves.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's like a misconception about like the music industry or labels or A&Rs. Like people think once you get here, it's like everything is on them when really it's like a team. Like you have to be somewhat together yourself so we can know how to move in a direction that best serves you
Yeah.
and will help you. Yeah.
I always thought like the label's job was to kind of enhance your brand and your personality and your music, and make it more fitting to really bring like the individual's vision to life. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. All it is enhancing. So like a stylist, they will enhance what you have already. Like they will enhance your style. So when I'm looking for an artist, like I just want to be a helper. Like I just want to enhance what you're doing. I don't want to completely change you. So if you have a brand, somewhat of a brand identity on your own, and a sound is like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, but you're not there yet. Let me show you how to get there.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, you have a nice voice, you need to sing this song. Like no, because it's not you.
Yeah. So how do you discover these artists?
I discover artists like any and everywhere, like online, through my friends. My friends put me onto a lot of stuff. Concerts. I'm really excited that concerts are opening back up again. Like live shows, like if you're an artist that's performing like at a local like bar, whatever. I even found an artist that was doing karaoke, and I'm just like, you can kind of sing. And they're like, yeah, I sing for real. And I'm like, let me see something. I'm like, anywhere,
Yeah.
really anywhere.
Interesting. So what's the biggest win you've had so far? Being an A&R and developing an artist, what's the biggest win you've had so far?
I feel like I can't say because it hasn't released yet, but
Okay.
like I have something coming out when I was working at a label. I kind of got like lucky and got a few placements there, and they're releasing this summer. But it's one that I'm really, really, really excited about because it's going to be this artist's first song as a solo artist.
Oh
And
wow.
that's all I'm going to say. But it's really fire. It's a fire song. So like maybe when it comes out, I can like circle back and be like, this is the song I was talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for that.
Well, I'll be looking out for sure.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on today's music climate? I know things are like really social media heavy, and everybody's making music. So like, what's your thoughts on the way that it is now versus what it was when we were growing up?
I love what it is now. And I love like what it's about to be like in the 2020s because I feel like when we were growing up, like that style of music is coming back. And I'm talking like blog era rappers and like R&B girls that's like doing like pop stuff instead of like vibey-ish. Like they're giving us these bops again.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. And I love today's climate. Even the younger kids, like they talk a lot about like mental health and they don't try to be like cool all the time.
Yeah.
One thing I also love about this music climate is because of social media, like you can really be yourself and people gravitate towards who you are. Again, instead of being like, like something that people want you to be, or that's something that you feel like you have to be. You can literally just be yourself and create a brand based off of who you are.
Yeah. Um, so I've always kind of had this theory that you can make really good music and still not find success if you don't have the right branding and promotion. What do you feel about that statement?
I feel like that's true somewhat. Because some people can really sing, but they can't make songs, or some people can sing. I feel like what it is, like people in today's time, I don't know if this is like all along, but I'm just going to speak on today, I guess.
Yeah.
But people feel like they have to relate to you. I'll use Megan Thee Stallion as an example. Megan Thee Stallion, she's great, but I feel like the reason why Megan Thee Stallion is Megan Thee Stallion because she feels like a friend. Like the guys think she's hot, and for the girls, it's like, okay, it feels like somebody that I know, so they cling to her for that reason. If she comes out with a song that's not that great, it's not over for her because it's like, we're gonna give you another chance because you're my friend. Like that's what it is. Like, but if it's somebody that you can't even like really relate to, but they
Yeah.
have a good song, like a good song, like we live in a digital era, so a good song isn't enough. It should be enough, but it isn't enough. Like you
Yeah.
have to have that extra thing for me to cling to because if not, it'll just be a song that I like, but I don't know anything about you. So I'm not going to ride for you. I'm not going to go tell my friend about you. Like, I don't feel connected to you.
Yeah,
So,
I've kind of always agreed with that too because there's a lot of great musicians that just have not like seen the success that we all thought they should have had. Like they can do amazing things, and then there's some artists who some people say like, oh, he's not doing as well as some of these crazy good artists, but they're still like you could relate to these artists, or they're not trying too hard to show who they are and stuff like that. So I feel like it's
yeah, you
very
can't hide yourself these days. And your visuals have to be on point too,
that's
to me.
true.
But that's like the creative director side of me jumping out. Like, a good visual will take you far.
Yeah. So what are your short and long term goals? I know right now you're doing some freelance work, but what are your short to long term goals?
I feel like my short and long term goals are kind of intertwined. I would say basically, I just want to work with artists that I'm passionate about and create like groundbreaking music and things. Like I want to help create music that helped me growing up in a sense. Like the kid in me that's always like, did you hear this song? Or when I discover like new music, I feel like I've grown with them. I want to create music like that. Like, so I don't think that I have goals of like working at a label. Like I just want to work with artists that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, it sounds
Like,
like you have a love for the music and the content
yes,
rather than the love of, the money aspect of all of it,
yeah,
which I think is important
hmm
because if you if you're more concerned about the music and the quality, you'll probably end up somewhere at a label anyways because you know what I mean. You're not just chasing a
hmm
dollar and stuff like that.
exactly.
And lastly, before we wrap this up, do you have any advice for any aspiring people who want to become an A&R?
Yes, I think my biggest advice it will be to know your why. And I say that because a lot of times in the music industry, like people want to be A&Rs or they want to do something in the music industry, but they don't know why. So know and understand your why because you have where you are and where you want to go, and a lot of stuff in between that doesn't matter once you get there. And it's in these stuff that's in between. It's going to be a lot of good days. It's going to be a lot of bad days. And when you have those bad days, you'll, if you know and understand your why, it'll be easier to get through because it can get cloudy. Like in this industry of why you're here, you always have to remember why you do what you do and tell the truth in your why. Like once you find out your why, like tell the truth in that because you might find your why and it can be like super selfish or like I don't know, not really a good reason. And you might find out like, okay, this isn't for me. I should be doing something else because it isn't for everybody. Like you can be a fan of music and you shouldn't be an A&R.
Yeah.
So
And,
yeah,
and that's so subtle, but it's still true. You know what I mean? Once you think about it, know your why. Because sometimes we get caught up in so many other things, we don't even realize that we don't even truly understand our why. So,
or
well,
you can get I'm sorry.
No, you're
You can get caught up in a bad day or a bad moment, and it's like, yo, this isn't going to matter once you get here. It isn't going to matter. So it's like, brush it off. Know your why. You understand your why. You're like, okay, this doesn't matter. Anyway, next.
yep,
Like,
yep. I completely agree. Well said. All right, Kayla. I appreciate you coming on, taking the time to do this. It was a dope interview.
thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me on. Thank you.
Of course. You have a good night.
You too. Bye.
See ya.